trade up options? Does it make sense for the Broncos? And if so, where does it make sense? We get into it all. Plus, latest mock drafts, fresh one from Fran Duffy as well, and draft props. All the intel we're gathering on how this draft's going to unfold just a few weeks away, starting now. DNVR Draft Pod. We're doing it. What a time to be alive. Coming to you live from the corner of Colfax and York in downtown Denver, right above the DNVR bar. We are live from the Toyota Lounge, and we're doing it. Boy, are we ever doing it. The Schwan man not with us. He gets to cover a practice in Boulder.
Oh, that's where he is.
What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive.
Actual practice. Who would have thunk it? You know that deal, Hank. You missed practice?
That's where I met Lexi.
Aw.
That's a spring practice.
Aw.
Yeah, it was actually they sent the email to the wrong Henry that the scrimmage was delayed by an hour.
Who is this?
So I was just standing there at the
Henry?
gate for an extra hour. He hadn't been there for a while. Kind of a big mistake, honestly, by the guy sending the email.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's how it happened.
Dang, that's amazing. I didn't expect like a cutesy love story to start the show off.
Then let's go the other way. This will be a little bit darker.
Okay.
I'm about to hit send on the tweet for this show. Oh, no. Should I tag you or not?
Yeah, tag me.
Still tag?
Tag me.
Despite
And
everything?
Honestly, I'm starting to think I need to text my Twitter hacker and be like, hey, bro, please retweet. Or like quote tweet with this. Yeah. If there's anyone out there who can help me with my Twitter account being hacked.
Like what you need now is another Twitter hacker.
I love that.
Who can hack that Twitter back to you.
Yeah. How many
I'm
DMs have you gotten from my hacker from my account?
I think because I stopped responding, they don't really get there. But I do get to see the tweets like that you looks like you got some new Rolexes yesterday. So congrats on that.
God. And you know what the hacker was doing for a few days? Instead of tweeting out BS about crypto to, fish all my followers,
Right.
he was actually retweeting stuff about the Rapids and DNVR Broncos tweets.
Yeah, I see that.
Like he got smart. He's countering
Right.
it a little bit.
Right. No, because I even forgot because there was like a poll that you retweeted. I was like, oh, that would be like up Dre's alley. And I realized, no, that's
I fear
that's
I'm
the
never
hacker.
getting this back.
Oh, no, you're not
But
getting it back.
I don't want to give in and start another account. That would be conceding. I'm not ready to concede, Hank.
Plus, you'd probably just get hacked again.
Yeah. It shows you being like nice to people who reach out and ask for help, not always the way to go.
Oh, I actually did not
could get
see that you
hacked.
also got the house. I missed that you were constructing a new house.
Yeah, and look, the only cars I mess with are Toyotas.
Right.
The only house I mess with is the house my mom was raised in that I'm raising my daughter in. And not a watch guy, as you can see, no watches.
Right. No.
So it's all BS.
It is all BS.
Yeah,
That's a shame.
he didn't tweet about Italy getting eliminated from the World Cup or that I'm betting Denver Summit to tie every single game. And that's basically free
When do they
money
play
right
again?
now. Stay tuned. We'll get you info on that. But let's get you guys into some draft stuff because we've had two.
That's what they're here for.
Every week, there's a new juicy mock that drops.
Right.
And we had two this week. One is Peter Schrager, who, I don't know, my new Twitter feed through the DNVR Bets account tells me is the most accurate of all.
Wow.
So yeah, there's lots of good stuff from the Peter Schrager mock. And then our guy, Fran Duffy, just dropped a mock.
He did.
Today, fresh this morning, and
Yep.
Fran hooked it up because he went 2 rounds.
Yes.
Which is what we care about. 1 round.
First round doesn't really matter.
Yeah, there's only so much we can do. Though we're going to talk about does it
We will.
matter or does it not matter?
Because there are some things that could happen that would make it matter.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Exactly. So let's start with Franz, where he gives the Broncos. Drum roll, please.
There we go. Yeah, mine was more of a maraca.
Eli Stowers at pick 62, which really goes to show you my biggest takeaway is how this draft between picks 30 and 62, there's 20 prospects who could go in either of those ranges.
Right.
And Eli Stowers is one of those guys.
And it seems like usually at this point we're starting to narrow it down a little bit more, but we really aren't.
It's wide open, my friend. It really is. And Stowers famously from not our Breck Brew episode, our episode last week.
Right.
Is a prospect I hate. Now, I hate him much more had they still had the 30th pick.
Yep.
And if he's a guy that Sean Payton is in on and thinks could be valuable in his offense, I'm happy to defer to Sean on that one.
Definitely.
Also, in Fran's mock, an interesting thing he mentions is Stowers, only been playing tight end for a couple of years now. He's a converted quarterback. So as Fran mentions, if Payton wants to get into some of the Taysom Hill packages with the former Commodore, that would not surprise him at all.
Has barely played any special teams.
Yep.
Which for a Taysom comparison, that's kind of like one of the key attributes of a Taysom Hill. It's like he also does all that dirty work for you.
Yeah.
And Stowers, not a dirty work guy. He's a clean work guy.
Pretty work. Yeah,
Pretty work.
You want to say pretty work?
I think he's a pretty work guy.
Yeah, we can say that. I want to see how many career carries and throws he has. 37 career carries, 2 rushing touchdowns, 134 rushing yards, 3.6 yards per carry.
Okay.
5 passing completions on 10 attempts. That's 50% for those math-inclined kids out there. 2 passing touchdowns in his career. So he's got that in his bag.
Yeah, it's a fun thing you could do.
Yeah, he remains on my hate list. But again, I'm ready to acquiesce. Biggest takeaways from the Schrager mock, Hanky.
Yeah, let me pull that one up.
David Bailey going 2nd overall.
Interesting.
Yep.
I'm an Arvell Reese guy.
Yeah, it seems like that's switched a little to where Bailey's the more popular pick for the Jets at 2nd overall. Regardless, I think the draft starts at 4, where I don't really care if it's Bailey or Reese. It just feels like the Cardinals at 3 will take whoever the Jets didn't take.
It certainly won't impact the Broncos.
It will not. Facts. Jeremiah Love, the popular pick to the Titans at 4.
Right. That's interesting.
Yep. And then it gets a little wonky. The most interesting pick, probably the Chiefs taking Jordyn Tyson, 9th overall, as wide receiver 1 in this mock.
That would scare me.
It would, though what I thought was really interesting from Schrager in his mock and some of the post-mock interviews and media hits he's done is he talked about how Tyson is becoming one of the most divisive prospects in the entire class, to where he was getting calls from some GMs saying like, wow, you think he's going to go that high? And other people around the league calling him and saying, you really think he's going to last until the 9th pick? Which is kind of nuts.
Right.
You were done covering the Buffs when Jordyn Tyson was an All-American freshman.
That was right at the end, because I remember.
I think that's the Schwan man's first year covering the Buffs, right?
Yes, his brother Jalen Tyson.
So
Jalen Tyson now in the NBA. Was he a lottery pick? He would have been close.
Where'd he play? In college?
He was trying to decide between CU and Texas Tech, I believe. It might have been one of the other Texases. Wound up choosing Texas Tech, but
20th overall to the Cavs in 2024.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Texas Tech, I believe.
Oh, yeah. He went to Cal. Right. I remember him. Yes.
So initially coming out of high school, he was choosing between Texas Tech and Colorado. Chooses Texas Tech, hits the portal, was going to go to Colorado this time until Jordyn Tyson hit the portal. So not only did the Buffs lose an incredible receiver. They also lost an NBA player. And you remember that was the year that they like went to the tournament, won the game, had 3 players drafted. Yep. All of a sudden you throw Jordyn Tyson in there and there's like a whole different alternate history path you can go to. A sliding doors moment.
Sliding doors moment. I've taught you that, yes.
That was all happening the spring, my last spring covering the Buffs. And then I was gone by the fall when he was actually on the field.
Yeah, I get the injuries. I've been on the Jordyn Tyson train for a while because he reminds me of the Emeka Egbukas, the JSNs, the Puka Nakuas, those prospects that have the size to play outside, the hands, the route running, the competitiveness.
Which is basically a list of everything a receiver does.
Yeah, the competitiveness at the catch point as a yak weapon where he was like an all-conference returner with the Buffs. And the inside-outside versatility, which Justin Jefferson, another name you could throw out there. To me, that's such a key in the modern NFL. It's what I think the Broncos could use more of, frankly, is guys who could play in the slot but also play outside, and you can't key in on that. Evan Ingram was supposed to be that. Didn't see a ton of it. I guess that's the method to the madness in an Eli Stowers pick as well. But that's why I'm sold on Tyson. What makes him divisive is the injuries, though.
Right. He's
missed games basically every season. His career ends with the Buffs on an ACL injury after they upset Texas 2 years ago in the college football playoffs. He goes out with, I want to say, collarbone injury.
Okay.
It's been a mess, but if you believe in the injuries, I'm not a doctor, famously.
True.
Nor a crypto mogul either. So,
although that one they do think that that's the case.
People don't believe that.
Or at least that you're friends with the crypto mogul.
Don't believe that. Yeah, that guy's a scammer. Do not engage with him at all, please.
Big mistake.
Big mistake. Coach Ivy. Big F you to you, Coach Ivy. Yeah. So, you know what? We're going to take a quick break and we'll get into other stuff like this on the other side.
Shout out to our friends over at New Built Restoration and Construction. Like they say, it's restoration and construction. So if something goes wrong with your house, whether it's water damage or fire damage, or you need mold removal, repair services, they have all sorts of options, and their contractors will be able to help out and fix whatever needs fixed. Also, they can just build things. They're licensed general contractors. They help with any project, big or small, commercial projects, or just stuff that you need done around the house. They're available 24/7. They care about being there for their customers, and you can check their 600 reviews to prove that that's true. They'll work with your insurance for you to make the whole process a lot smoother for you. They're big DNVR fans, so they support us, and we love to support them as well. So if you have a reason to need restoration or construction, New Built's the place to go. When that home emergency hits, New Built Restoration Construction will be there at nubilt.com or 720-902-7472. Let them know that DNVR sent you.
If you love the NFL Draft, then this is your edge. The Die Hard NFL Draft Guide is built and based off of thousands of hours of film study, being boots on the ground, Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl, Combine, talking to scouts, talking to coaches, really getting a feel for where these players are best going to fit and project in the NFL. We're talking hundreds of players in this class. All right, so what are you going to find in the guide? Well, you're going to find player comps, you're going to find strengths, weaknesses, physical tools, analytics, highlights, analysis from all across the space, everything you need to try and determine who are the best players for your team. You get access to the guide if you're a diehard, and you'll also get access to a couple of individual breakdowns I'm doing specifically for your team. All right, look, if you want surface level breakdowns, you can get them anywhere, but if you want independent thought, if you want thorough breakdowns on all of these prospects, become a diehard, get the guide. Or you can get access to the 2026 guide for just $26. Let's win draft season.
We're so back in the Toyota Lounge. Other stuff that stood out to you, Hanky?
Real quick. So the reason the Jordyn Tyson thing, he's like the last guy I want to go to the Chiefs because he feels like he could just be an incredible player. Like there's a real chance that he would be the best receiver who Mahomes has played with. With Tyreek Hill being good, peaking like just under 1,500 yards, like Jordyn Tyson to me is a guy who Like Justin Jefferson might be the comp. You're talking like could he get 2,000 yards in a season? Obviously, there's a lot of hurdles to get to that point, but I think at some point he might be one of the 2 or 3 best receivers in the NFL. Keep him away. I think that's my least favorite pick the Chiefs could make from a Broncos perspective.
Also, man, they have so many needs now with the entire secondary needing to be revamped. They want more like pass rush juice. They need to figure out some wide receiver stuff. They need a future tight end replacement. That we're not even talking about O-linemen.
Right.
And they're like most of the season, that was the entire talk. Or running back for that matter.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's why like if they just went with like Carnell Tate, then it's like, okay, we've seen plenty of Mike Williams. We've seen plenty of, it's not one of those guys who you're like, oh my goodness, he could be incredible. It's like, yep, he's going to be a good receiver. Go ahead, Chiefs. Like that doesn't like change my entire outlook.
Right.
So yeah. Or even like Ruben Bain, like good player, but has some of those deficiencies. Where you're like, will he ever be? He's not going to be Myles Garrett, you wouldn't think.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is, I'm curious. It's rare we see the Chiefs pick this high. Obviously, they haven't done it forever.
Not since 2017. The Mahomes
you just hope they
pick.
botch it, right?
Yeah.
What's after that? So Bengals, Mansour Delane.
Yeah, I mean, any defender for the Bengals basically makes sense.
Right, but I also think sometimes losing on the boundaries is a symptom of being terrible in the trenches.
Yeah.
And so they can get caught up in the fact like we couldn't stop the pass. It's like, why couldn't you stop the pass? Well, because you couldn't stop the run, so you had to load the box, or because you couldn't get home. So like they need big guys in the trenches. This would just be another little finesse guy. And I love the prospect, of course, but this does not solve their problems.
No, for sure. I think they'd be much better off building inside out rather than outside in. The Dolphins take Carnell Tate at 11.
Interesting fit.
There's your Jalen Waddle replacement.
Right. And all of a sudden, it's a very different passing game than it was the past few years.
Yeah, right. Speed isn't the name of the game anymore.
Who's their quarterback? Oh,
Malik Willis.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Also, their coach, like
Give him a
Jeff
big
Halfley,
receiver.
I don't believe at all.
No, I don't really believe in anything they do.
Caleb Downs drops to 12 to the Cowboys.
A surprise.
Yeah. Also, Sonny Styles is 7th to the Commanders in this one. Fran has him going 5th to the Giants. Especially post-combine, I'm of the idea that like Reese, Bailey, Styles all go kind of neck and neck.
Could be.
So I tend to agree with Fran on that one. Makai Lemon, both those mocks went 13th to the Rams. Which, do they really need another wide receiver? Obviously, the rehab with Puka Nacua, but...
And that's the thing is like, on paper, no. But also, like, Devontae Adams isn't getting any younger. The Rams love to trade a guy. Like, if you get to the end of the season, I'm not sure if his deal's up or if he's done, but, like, you're going to need to replace him in the next couple years. He's one of those, like, slot-type receivers, different than Puka and Devontae, but that is kind of the style they like.
Yeah.
Smaller, faster, but still, like, some of the same strengths. And then, do you trust Puka? Like, would you also prefer to just trade Puka at the end of the year and potentially get a haul, It's not where I would have gone, but it's interesting when you see it in the mock.
It's also like, it's funny, the NFL, you trade like an all-pro corner for the 29th pick. You trade a high-end wide receiver for the 30th pick.
Right.
The Rams keep the 13th pick and you get Makai Lemon, who like has several deficiencies. It's not the fastest. He's not the biggest. He's probably slot only.
Probably.
I don't know.
It is the last year. Peter Schrager wrote, last year of Devontae Adams' deal. He'll be 34 this offseason.
Yeah, for sure. Also, the Rams, they used to play those really tight sets with the wide receivers and then could block. Makai Lemon isn't giving you that. So,
That's true.
I don't know. Seems like an awkward fit. But again, both agree. What stood out to me is Schrager has Omar Cooper 16th overall. Fran doesn't even have him in the first round. On the reverse, Schrager doesn't have Peter Woods in the first round at all. And Fran does. I'm also fascinated by this Lions pick. Schrager gave him Olagave Ione, the top guard in the class from Penn State. They need a Taylor Decker replacement. They don't need another guard.
Right.
And Penei Sewell's probably moving to left tackle.
I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting O-line class. Lots to get into there. Chargers take Blake Miller. Could you imagine you already drafted Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, and you have to draft another offensive tackle?
Yeah, I don't even know what the plan would be there.
Yeah, rough.
Yeah. Like you don't need 3 first-round tackles, especially when 2 of them have looked really good.
Right.
They just don't really play very often.
And of all the like tackles who could convert inside, Blake Miller feels like the least convertible.
Yeah.
Denzel Boston goes to the Eagles at 23. If that happened, there'd be a lot of A.J. Brown talk.
Yeah.
Casey Concepcion goes as high as 24 to the Browns. Caleb Lomu to the Niners, popular pick there. And then both mocks had guard Kalen Rutledge sneaking into the first round and Jadorian Price sneaking into the first round, both to the Seahawks.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, what are the odds Jadorian Price is better than Kenneth Walker this year? This year, you'd say probably not.
Yeah, pretty low.
Yeah.
I
Like
thought
long term, I don't hate the bet, but it is kind of an interesting, like, would you rather a first round pick, probably pretty equivalent in value to the money that was spent on Kenneth Walker? And you could have just kept him.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting.
what I found fascinating was Fran and his mentioned Mike Washington as a Seahawks type running back, who he also considered.
Do they still have Charbonnet?
Could you imagine? Yes, they should. Mike Washington going 32nd overall.
No.
That would be insane.
Right. Usually you need to be better at football for that.
Yeah. Typically you do. But it'd make life easier for us to not have to worry about him going to the Broncos, since I think when there's smoke, there's fire.
It's true.
Keldric Faulk, another of the most divisive prospects in this class, not in Schrager's first round at all. Fran has him going 16th to the Tampa Bay Bucks. Do you have any Keldric Faulk thoughts?
I mean, it's easy to see why you'd like him.
Uh-huh.
Because he has, like, he checks every single box. The only one he doesn't check is being, like, good at football. And it's not that he's bad at football. It's that he's just not good at football yet.
The production scares you.
Exactly. And so I don't know.
Not just the TFLs, not just the sacks, the pressure rate, one of the lower ones amongst the top pass rushers in this class.
And I'm trying to come up with a guy who had similarly low production who went in the first round. I'm sure you've got
Shamar Stewart last year.
There's one.
Mikael Williams, another one.
Right.
Tavon Walker, similarly. Now, the Georgia guys, Williams and Walkers, had the excuse of like, oh, those Georgia fronts were so stacked, heavy rotation, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
He wasn't the best pass rusher on Auburn's team.
Yeah. Potentially a good fit for the Broncos.
Yes.
Could be the interior pass rusher.
Yes.
And I think, like, do we do the trade up conversation now?
Yeah, we do.
Because you go through and say, like, Caleb Downs falls to 12. And my first thought was, like, could the Broncos get up there? It's like, no, there's just no way.
Right.
And then, like, Kenyon Sadiq at 14, definitely not. But if he fell to, like, 20, but it probably does take a guy falling out of the first round for the Broncos to be able to trade next year's first round pick and this year's second. Like, that probably gets you up to the top of the second round this year.
Yeah, let's unpack this real quick, okay? Put all the parameters. We're building the Broncos thanks to new built construction. When that home emergency hits, new built restoration and construction will be there at nubilt.com or 720-902-7472. Let them know DNVR sent you. So, trading up in the first round feels like the only situation where that happens is what? The 25th pick on?
For this year's first, this year's second, next year's second?
This year's, and again, we have a little historical evidence because the Falcons did this last year with James Pierce Jr.
Right.
They move up to 26 to get him. They get back the pick 101, low third rounder. They give up the 46th pick, their second rounder that year, a 7th rounder that year, and then a future first. I think something like that could happen. and you're
just
rightfully making faces.
I mean, it's just tough when, like, this year the Broncos' first round pick is 30th.
Yeah.
Like, when they were making that trade with the Falcons, they were saying next year's first is going to be middle of the draft. And maybe other teams aren't as high on the Broncos this year, but you're still thinking like 20s at worst. Like, they traded number 46 last year. Broncos are at 62. That's why I think
you're definitely not getting 101 in return.
Definitely not.
And yeah, it's 62. It's a future
26.
first, and maybe instead of a 7th, it's like a 4th.
Yeah.
One of those high 4ths.
Yep.
And even then, I don't know. I was starting to put a short list together. Caleb Downs, I'd do that trade for.
Yep.
Jeremiah Love, I'd do that trade for.
Absolutely.
No way those guys drop.
Nope.
Kenyon Sadiq?
Oh, see, that's like right at the line. Like, that's where giving up all of that is tough.
It really has to hit.
Like, exactly. Like,
It
a
really has to hit.
2 seconds for Sadiq itself is scary.
2 seconds terrifies me.
Yeah. For Sadiq, for sure.
Yeah.
For Downs and Love.
All in.
Love scares me a little bit too. I would still do it, but
It's a very
is.
like, we feel like we just need that final piece, and he is that final piece.
yeah. So the interesting piece of it is the Broncos don't have room for 7 rookies on their team.
Indeed.
And that's kind of where the trade up situation makes a lot more sense.
Yep.
Just because, like, we were talking through it yesterday, like, as of right now, the 53rd guy on your roster is
Like Dondre Tillman, Devon Key.
Yeah.
Like they're on that bubble.
There we go. So it'd be like Frank Crum would be 52, Throckmorton 53.
Yeah.
And so then you start saying, and behind them, Devin Key's already outside that. Dondre's outside that. Crawshaw, your punter, like, you're obviously going to keep him. Nick Gargiulo, they spent a draft pick on. So, like, you're already talking about, like, losing some players. And if you were to then go up and say, like, you have to cut 7 guys to fit these 7 on the roster, on top of those names you've already said, that means, first of all, goodbye Throckmorton, goodbye Crum. Bandy might be gone anyway. Henning's in. Uwazurike. Chris Abrams-Drain is right there. Alex Forsythe.
Forget Jaleel, forget
which
Kroll,
could be gone,
forget,
right?
Yeah.
So you're already like
Dave's
Tyson Anderson could be right
looking
there, and so fitting 7 on would be like you're making at least 4 or 5 cuts of guys who have been important players,
right?
Like, not even counting Lucas Kroll, Jaleel, who we expect to be gone.
So trade up makes sense. It probably makes less sense though this high into the first round.
Well, and moving next year's picks to do it is what makes it tough. Because what you want to do is trade this year's
back-to-back
picks.
years, no first. Scary proposition.
And so if you said, like, trade your second, one of your 4ths, and throw a 7th in there or whatever, and you can get up 15 picks, it makes it a lot easier. At the same time, though, if the right guy's there, you can certainly trade next year's first.
Yep.
And what you do is later on, you might trade away one of those picks or trade down to pick up future picks. Like, you might just accept, like, we have the last 2 picks in the draft. Those guys probably won't make the team, but so you could get around it. But I'm not against trading next year's first or next year's second, like, depending on what you're looking at.
Yep.
Just because.
But it needs to be the right guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It needs to be somebody who you think should absolutely not still be on the. It can't be like, oh, this is decent value. This is good. Like, it has to be like, how is he here? How can we get him for this pick? Like, this is better than the guy we're going to get with next year's first.
We're going to keep mapping this out, give you options for trade up, not just into the first, into the second, back into the third, all on the other side. But first, a shout out to our friends at Shady Rays. Boy, I feel so seen by Shady Rays. Always have. You know, I used to be a gas station sunglass guy. Then one Christmas, I got nice sunglasses. Well, the gas station sunglasses, they broke, or my eyes weren't getting anything out of them. And then I lost and broke the designer sunglasses. Shady Rays, perfect mix of both. They're awesome shades. They're great quality. The lenses are awesome, and they're not stupidly expensive. And on top of that, they have a great policy to where if you've lost them, if you've broken them, they've got you. They're hooking you up. No guilt trip. they hook you up with a replacement. So now I've got my Shady Rays. I've got like 4 pairs because they've got these great buy one, get one free deals. Get your shades now. 'Tis the season. Go to shadyrays.com. Use that code DNVR RSR for 40% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses.
Also want to give a shout out to our friends over at Volo. Volo's awesome. They're all over town. Wherever you go, you see people in Volo shirts, especially like near the parks in particular. Volo's the best. If you want to sign up for some recreational sports, they have you covered. They've got all sorts of adult social sports leagues, pickup games, and community events. Any sports you can think of, like volleyball, soccer, kickball, pickleball, basketball, a flag football. Whether you're trying to just meet new people, whether you want to stay active, just find some fun things to do after work, Volo has you covered. They've got leagues and events that are all over town, including Sloan's Lake, Rhino, Lodo, Highlands, City Park, and South Broadway. Whatever you're looking for, they've got it. And it doesn't matter whether you're experienced in the sport, whether you just want to try something new. Players can sign up as a free agent or gather as a team. All skill levels are welcome. Use code Broncos15 for $15 off your first Volo Denver league at volosports.com/Denver.
We are so back in the Toyota Lounge, building the Broncos with new built restoration and construction. Okay, you were on the fence about Kenyon Sadiq. What about Keldric Faulk, Peter Woods, someone like that who drops to the end of the first? Is that someone you'd trade up for and give up a future first for?
So we're saying future first, this year second.
Yeah. And then let's say pick 111.
That's close.
Yeah.
It's close.
Because the upside for those guys might be higher than someone you could find next year.
Totally.
In the 20s or early 30s. Let's hope 32. Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, gets it.
But, and not to take this in a dark place, but it's a thing that happens. I mean, 9 of the last 20 teams who've been to the Super Bowl or were the number 1 seed missed the playoffs the next year.
Yeah.
9 of the. So you're saying like either the Seahawks or Broncos, based on those numbers, will miss the playoffs. And then you're saying like pick 16. And so I think that's kind of where my bar is, because not only would you be losing pick 16, you'd also be losing this year's second, the 4th round or whatever that's worth. So I need to be able to say, like, I think this is a top 15 talent in the draft. And if I can do that, then I can pull the trigger. And that's where, like,
Woods, Faulk are right on the edge.
Especially because positional value is a weird thing for those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, interior rusher, super valuable, but also feels like the bust rate is fairly high, especially Faulk. You're bumping him inside a little bit.
Certainly.
Peter Woods, you worry, is he more of just like a run stuffer? And in that case, you gave up a lot for it. It's a tough position to pull the trigger on. But at the same time, I mean, Keldric Faulk is second on Fran's big board. Like, there is a crazy amount of talent there. It's just a really big gamble when you're already gambling by spending 3 picks to get the guy.
Yeah. I know it's tricky with those. I think the risk is a smidge too much to go in like that.
That's where when you say Downs, it's so easy to say like he's going to be a good player, and you think there's a really good chance to be a great player, but you're just like he is going to be a good player, and maybe you could say the same thing about Woods, but the guarantee is as a run stuffer, not a pass rusher. The pass rush is the stuff where you say like it looked good at Clemson, but also you're 330 pounds or whatever. Are you really going to be getting in the backfield that often?
What about trading a player? Would that make you feel better? And if you take one of those picks away because it's less value for the future?
I would say Marvin Mims is probably he's the guy we talk about in trades.
Mims,
Marvin,
Dondre, Riley.
Yeah, I would say.
Just thinking of guys at deeper positions.
Marvin is much more valuable to this team this year than Faulk or Woods.
Yeah,
Riley obviously is. Dondre, I don't think moves the needle in any sort of way in a trade like this.
Yeah.
And so I don't think so. Like if you're trading up now, it's a kind of a win now move. To make it a win now move and also trade away a player who's going to be more valuable to you now, just it doesn't add up.
I would make the trade for a Jermon McCoy. They don't need an outside corner.
They really... Could you imagine if they did that?
Yeah, no.
Well, if they do that, they're trading Riley, right? And they just want a guy that's like most cost effective.
Somebody who competes with Jade right away, and you see how things play out long term.
It's just hard starting a guy. opposite Pat, who didn't play for a whole year coming off an ACL.
Sure is.
And also putting that much resources into one position seems like kind of risky team building. Sonny Styles, I do it. I know you're not the biggest Sonny Styles. It's also a moot point because he's like Love, and Downs is never dropping to a range where you can even plausibly do that. I think that's about it for guys you trade a future first and move up into the late first.
What about Jacob Rodriguez? Like, if he's like mocked right at the end of that, like,
no, he's not worth trading a future first for.
But I mean,
I don't think so.
You could get up to like 50 or something if he gets,
Yes, let's talk about that because that's where it makes a lot more sense. Let's shed some of these 7 picks to move up from 62 to like 45 to like 50.
Yep.
And then who are those targets, We've talked about Caleb Banks, Chris Bell, guys like that who maybe drop because of injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Bell, God, I love him. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, has a little bit of Sean Payton to him, right? Like, how big is he? 6'1", 222. 6'1" and 7/8. We call him boy. We can call him
220-pound wide receivers. Those do not grow on trees.
They do not, and that's why. Right, and that's why like you throw tight end out there, but the label is almost meaningless because like you play him the same way you play Lil Jordyn, which is the same way you play Evan Ingram, which is like you put him out there, he's probably going to be pretty close to the line of scrimmage. Like he could block, he could run a route.
It's just he might be on the shelf for rookie season.
Totally.
Is that really a guy? No, you're not going as all in, but is that really a guy? I'm kind of off the bank stuff. The foot injury really scares me for a guy that big.
So in terms of value, Broncos trade. So their first 2 picks are 62 and 108.
Yeah.
And they have 111, 170.
Yeah.
So if you trade 62 and 108, that would get you from 62 to 54.
Okay.
So it gets you up a little bit, but it isn't going to, you're not all of a sudden up 20 spots or anything. It's 8 picks.
Yep. And for example, Danny Dennis Sutton is pick 54. In Fran's mock, pick 55 is Denver's own Emmanuel Pregnon.
Right.
Gabe Akis is pick 56. Chris Bell is pick 53. Lee Hunter, a nice alternative to Caleb Banks, was 52. Anthony Hill's like pick 50.
That could be.
CJ Allen goes 48. Jacob Rodriguez goes 47.
There was a moment when CJ Allen was getting a lot of hype.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, worth mentioning, he mocks Eli Stowers to the Broncos. Jake Galday still available.
Right.
So are those linebackers that much better to trade that draft capital when maybe a Jake Galday is still there? Or my bay Kyle Lewis is still there.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of the range. Am I neglecting any needs? I don't know. Cassius Howell drops to 59. Fun, great value. There's a reason he drops to 59, and also you probably don't need another speed edge rusher.
Right. I mean, it's probably just best player available all the way through. I mean, yeah, you can throw O-line out there. They like Frank Crum, though. They like Palcho.
Right.
And, like, those guys are coming off the bench.
Who I could see them doing it for, I personally wouldn't do it, is a running back like Jonah Coleman.
Oh, see,
because he's so Sean Payton-y.
Yeah.
Low to the ground, big, vision, patience, pass pro, receiving ability. All of a sudden, say goodbye to the Tyler Bidet. He's nice J.K. Dobbins insurance. In some ways, he can do the RJ stuff, though doesn't have the juice RJ has. So, kind
of. Or
of
the Samaje stuff.
The Samaje stuff and like a bigger RJ package.
Yep.
So I think you're forcing a need and fit just a teensy there, but I could see why it makes sense, and shedding some of that draft capital, as you alluded to, maybe not the worst thing in the world either.
Also, Jadarian Price could be there.
That was going to be my question.
A lot of people think he's a first round pick, and it seems like he has some Travion Henderson vibes, And I remember when we first started talking about like Travion Henderson. Could he be that high? And then he goes even higher. So like, but in the world in which Jadarian Price does slip a bit, that's where you could say like, oh, this is actually good value. So let's trade up for the great value instead of like, we prefer this guy to the others and they should all be somewhere in this range.
That I would do it for.
What does that do for RJ though?
And I'm not the biggest Jadarian guy. Now, what's nice about Price, though, is he does give you Travion Henderson vibes. When you watch that Notre Dame tape, though, he's a very north-south between the tackles runner.
That's the system.
He is not pushing things to the outside the way RJ does and freelancing.
I mean, that's the difference between being a Notre Dame running back, where that's what they want their running backs to do, and UCF, where it's like...
And being in a Gus Malzahn offense.
Right, we're fast. Go make a play.
Exactly. Now, he doesn't have the patience that distinguishes J.K. Dobbins.
Right.
So you do worry about December football, and it's like, well, we still need Bidet to pass pro for us.
Yep.
And that patience, like we've got two young runners that don't have that vision to get us those 3 yards on 3rd and 3.
Right. Which is why...
So
I've been tempted by like, does Kareem Hunt is he sitting on the market right now? You know, you don't need him right now, but at some point, guys like that who will just line up and take what the offensive line gives them, honestly, become more valuable than the juice guys once you hit December.
Totally agree on that. Are there any 3rd round targets you would move back into the mid to late 3rd for if, say, player X is still around?
Let's see.
I love Tanner Kazoil so much. I would.
There's one. It's just tough to say who that could be. Like the order of all these picks still feels so much in flux.
I know.
That like I guess like we could cross like Jacob Rodriguez isn't going to fall that far. But maybe in that next tier of like, could Anthony Hill be there at that point?
Probably not.
You couldn't trade up in the 3rd round for him? You think he's gone in the 2nd for sure?
I think, yeah, I think so. Jeremiah Bernard.
One of the receivers.
Or Jeremy Bernard. Yeah.
Although the Broncos don't need a receiver, that is one of the positions where I could say, I thought this guy was going to be like pick 35, and here he is. How could you not do it?
Very divisive prospect, but Zachariah Branch is a guy I do that for.
Right.
And I tell you why. Marvin Mims insurance.
Right. That would work.
Plus
like Bud Clark.
You know, everyone loved Tez Johnson last year. He's very Tez Johnson-y. Bud Clark, one of those safeties.
Could he slip?
Kamari Ramsey, AJ Halsey, all guys I would do that for. What about your guy, Sam Roush? You move up for him?
I'm up for him wherever. I think on the consensus board, he's like 109 right now.
107, very good, Hanky.
I spent a lot of time checking where Sam Roush is on
Had to. Excited for the Broncos show coming up. I'm on that. And Hank and I are pitching different Broncos mock picks, round for round, blow for blow.
Yep.
To Zach. Zach's going to be our judge and pick who he likes best.
Right. And so that's where, like, if he's there with 108, 111, I mean, how could you, in my opinion, how could you not pull the trigger?
Yeah.
But as I said on the show yesterday, like, if they spend 62 on him, I'm not going to say it's a bad deal. Like, I think he's a good player who's going to be very productive for a long time. So, yeah, if you want to trade up for him, I'm all in. I wonder, so let's see. If you traded 111 and 108, that would get you up to 88. For what it's worth.
Okay. I talked myself into that.
In the right situation.
Linebacker-wise, do they need more the run stuffer, the Dre Greenlaw Singleton, or some Sternad coverage linebacker insurance?
I mean, I always go run stuffer. I think in the modern NFL, when you need coverage, it's so easy just to go dime or nickel. Like, I don't want to say like those guys grow on trees or anything. And now the Broncos are in a situation where like they don't have PJ Locke. And so last year would have been easy to say like Brandon Jones, PJ Locke, put Ufunga in the box, and you can like, you don't have to worry about this. And also they spend so much time in that penny front where they've got 5 rushers on the line of scrimmage, and it's just Singleton kind of like playing goalie behind him, just if anybody gets through. And that's just pure run stuffing. Like, I think the way they deploy their linebackers, you just don't need coverage there. And so I always go with, if
So
Like,
you'd be
if
more
you're-
Josiah Trotter than Kyle Lewis, for example,
Yeah.
as far as a move-up candidate.
Exactly. But also, I mean,
Yeah,
run
you're-
stuffing linebacker, not always a position you have to move up for.
Totally. And 100%. Those, in fact, should be found as UDFAs.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is why you'll notice they have 3 UDFA linebackers
Yes,
they
sir.
like who are currently
Yes, sir.
backing up the other guys.
Not to mention, some of your favorite Broncos defenses, their middle linebacker was
Right.
a UDFA middle linebacker.
Right.
Brandon Marshall, Danny Trevathan, our guy Todd Davis,
Right.
Alex Singleton.
Yep.
D-line, I do it for LT Overton, one of the most obvious 5-tech prospects in a class that's very short on 5-techs. I would do it for my guy, Daryl Jackson, Florida State. I do it for Lee Hunter, who seems to be kind of a divisive prospect. Now, I don't think divisive enough to be available at pick 88.
Right. So that's the thing about divisiveness. It's more about it's the team that wants him the most
Yeah.
that's going to pull the trigger. It doesn't matter if 15 teams think he's a 6th-round pick.
Right.
If there's 4 of them who think he should go in the 2nd round. And so when he's on the board in the 3rd, how could you not take him?
Running back, I mean, Jonah Coleman's 97 on the consensus board. So if I could get him to trading up to
Right.
88 rather than trading up to 56,
Right.
sign me up.
Yep.
I would make that trade. Kaytron Allen, I probably would as well. Shocked that he's only 151 on the consensus board. I'm assuming neither of us would do it for Emmett Johnson just because he's not
Not our guy.
what you need.
Right.
Max Clare intrigue you if he was around at 88?
Definitely. I mean, definitely.
Okay. Oscar
And-
Delp starting to get some real hype.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
No, I feel the same. It's
I mean,
a-
I want a tight end. Like, I'm not like the receiver-y.
Well, and he has that could be a tight end, but you know, it's
theoretical
it's
still.
speculative. Yep. Yep. I think that's about it.
Yeah.
And then boy, I'd love to shed those 2 final 7th rounders. Those with the names you were giving me of who would be on the 53-man bubble.
Right.
There's just no need for picks
Right.
in that 250 range.
Yeah, those are probably practice
You
squad guys.
just do not need it.
So, like, last year, like, that's where you got Caleb Bloner last year.
Yep.
And so then he sits on the practice squad for a year and see what happens. So, I mean, that
Yep.
you would be drafting for practice squad probably with all 3 of those.
Yeah. Let's get into some Bet365 draft props.
Yes.
That intrigued
Let's
me.
do it.
First things first, I'm very intrigued by the way, there's a tons of draft props up on Bet365 right now, including who the Broncos' first pick will be, the exact position of their first pick. Now, that could be at 62. That could be through a trade up. There's no distinction there. Defensive line tied with linebacker as the odds-on favorite at plus 250. O-line plus 400. Tight end plus 450. Running back plus 800. Tied with safety at plus 800. Does that surprise you that defense is ahead of offense?
It's interesting for sure.
It feels like that's driven by public money and less people who are locked in on the Broncos.
Right. Sorry, I'm trying to pull it up for myself. Yeah, I mean, I would look at the value at safety. Like, to me, that's where,
Yes, sir.
like,
And
you want to
cornerback,
say they're.
frankly, plus 1,400.
I know. There's no way they do that again. Even if
Just
it would kind of make a
saying.
little sense. But yeah, I mean, defensive lineman, you could totally see it.
Yep, that one makes a lot of sense.
think that makes a lot of sense.
And
Line-
it's defensive line / edge, so you kind of cover your bases
That's
across
true.
the board, which is nice.
Linebacker, you could see it. I do think that that's
as
one
their
that
first pick, yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at. Where it's a lot more people talking about it than it actually making sense. Especially because this would be the highest the Broncos have drafted a linebacker. That's higher than Drew Sanders,
Whoa.
right? Since I don't even know how long.
You go back to, I think their only top 100 linebacker has been Oh gosh, was he from NC State? Elway drafted him in the late third. He never really played. Yeah,
Nate Irving. Yeah, that could be.
Drew Sanders, obviously.
Yeah, so he was 67.
Sanders.
Yeah. So you've got pick 62.
Yeah, and he had that. I wonder if he was listed as an edge or linebacker.
Right.
Because depending on which plus 250 bet you placed,
right,
that'd be a big distinction. I think there's tremendous value on running back at plus 800, Hank. Tremendous value.
I think so too. And it's an interesting one because I mean, if you draft a running back in this draft, he is not part of the game plan. Like he is not getting touches, in my opinion. Not until something happens with JK or RJ. Like to me, this is a 2-man backfield. And
what about a Tyler Bidet replacement as that third down back?
I mean,
it's hard for a rookie to do that.
And I think they really want that to be RJ. Because I think if RJ isn't that, it's hard to see him not being a bust. Because like that's the point, is that he can do all those things.
My favorite pass pro backs are the Maurice Jones-Drew, Austin Eckler, Aston Genty, shorter, compact frame where you think, oh, you got him. And then you're like, dang, this guy's like a little fire hydrant trying to get by him. You know, like that initial pop you get from those dense, compact frames is enough to buy you that extra second you need.
Yep. DJ Williams would have been the one. Nate Irving also picked 67. So this would be the highest drafted linebacker since 2004.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Like I'm not going to believe it till I see it. But yeah, offensive line, obviously interesting.
Very interesting. You plus 400.
Could invest and have another developmental guy.
We've talked about it on this show for 2 years.
We have.
And I may be returning to that.
Yep.
I do think the case would be trenches. As George Payton said, you always want to kind of revamp the trenches. Those are the guys you're better off addressing early rather than later. Well, linebacker we talked about, you can totally wait on that. Running back to a similar extent. So O-line, D-line does feel like there's good value. Plus 400 might be worth a sprinkle there.
Yep. Tight end, it could be.
Plus 450.
There are a lot of guys who could
class,
go right there.
Right?
Yep.
Like there's a consensus tight end one. After that, there's a bunch of guys who could go. You could tell me they went right about pick 50. You could tell me they went right at pick 100.
Right.
There's like 6 guys in that range.
Right. And it makes sense to get younger there. Like just to have somebody to keep going.
My God, does it ever make
And
sense?
I look at safety because right now your third safety is Devin Key or JL Skinner. Or, I mean, Tyson Anderson could take that job. But that's not a spot.
Brandon Jones is, and Hufanga with the injuries. I mean,
both of them injured in the past.
And honestly, that position doesn't look that different from linebacker.
No.
Like as far as like you have your 2 starters, but the 2 starters, it's like how long will they be with the team?
Right.
Like I think it's all the caveats that apply to linebacker apply to safety. We just don't think of it that way because during the season, the fan base was complaining so much about linebackers and not about the safeties.
And to balance it out a bit, like you play a third safety a lot more than you play a third linebacker.
Yep.
Although the Broncos obviously last year did. So I think safety at plus 800 also interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
And 28-1 on a receiver. I don't think they do it, but 28-1.
Right.
Especially when the same conversation
Bell,
about tight
Bernard,
ends,
like those, there are intriguing. Exactly.
There are guys who they could say like, oh, we were thinking about him at 30 before the Waddle trade.
For sure.
We can now get him at 62 or
yes,
trade up to 88. I guess at that point he's not your first. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yep. Few others that intrigued me. Now it's all value hunting when it comes to the draft props, right? Like it's the old philosophy adage of the only thing we know is we know nothing.
Right.
I think that's Plato quoting Aristotle, but
irregardless.
So under 2.5 safeties to go in the first round plus 180. I think you get 2. I don't think it's a lock that McNeil Warren goes in the first.
Okay.
And at plus 280, I'm at plus 180. I'm happy to hedge my bets. Kalen Rutledge, who we mentioned, was mocked in the first for both mocksters, plus 450 to be a first round pick.
Yeah. I like
Seems
it.
like decent value there. I'm also the only non-value pick I'll give out is O-line over 7.5 to go in the first round. It's minus 170. Hammer it. might as well be free money. All in on that.
Over 1.5 tight ends in the first round. So Stowers sneaks in plus 850.
It's not that's
right. Plus 850 for somebody to jump at Stowers.
100%. All in on that. Monroe Freeling to be a top 10 pick plus 240.
Who could be the best left tackle in the draft?
I mean, a lot of people mock him to Cleveland at 6.
Yep.
So yeah, that value seems really nice. And if you believe that for Freeling, why not believe that for Caden Proctor at plus 600 to be a top 10 pick?
Also interesting, Jadarian Price at plus 500 to be in the first round. So despite the mocks, like
what
first
was
of
the
all, you
value
can
on
make
that?
the bet
500?
500. So they say 18% chance.
Also, I love these bets that keep me engaged watching the draft till the very last pick. You know?
Like the Mr. Irrelevant position.
It's so great.
That's literally the last pick because Broncos have the Mr. Irrelevant. And the reason why the position of Mr. Irrelevant scares me a little is because they have the last 2 picks. And so all it takes is saying like, yep, we want these 2 guys and it doesn't really matter what order.
It applies to us, sadly.
But also like running back plus 600. Easy to just say like, oh, we want this guy in camp. Running back would make some sense.
Keldric Faulk
Tight
plus
end, maybe
top
not.
10 pick plus 1,800.
I mean, 1,800
It just
is
teams
tempting.
one team, right?
Right.
Like one team to be like, I'd rather bet on this hypothetical than Ruben Bain's outlier stuff.
David Bailey's still plus 150 to go number 2.
Yes. And Arvell Reese to go after pick 2. So over 2.5, you can get that at plus 180.
Okay.
So I like that pick as well. Francis Mayuaga, top 5 pick plus 200. So the Giants to draft him, which is a fairly popular mock pick, plus 200 is good value on that.
Man, Dylan Thienemann's line is at 18.5. Over minus 105.
So basically even money.
Right.
What about Ty Simpson under 24.5 at plus 175? So he goes lower than pick 24.
Man, I keep thinking, no, of course not. How could you do that? And then it's like, well, it's the NFL, and this is the stupid thing that the NFL teams do more than any other stupid thing that they like to do. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he winds up going the top 10 because somebody's just like, well, he's a quarterback, and we need a quarterback, and we think he's going to be good. So yeah, I mean, under at plus money you have to take.
Yeah, I agree completely. Let's get into some super chats on the Toyota chat over here. And then you guys can tune in to us talking more Broncos draft here in 30 minutes. So, and we're hitting overtime. So if you're watching us on Samsung TV or Xfinity TV, go to our website, thednvr.com, and we will keep this conversation going. Super chat me up, yeah. Make those questions bigger for me, my friend. I have old eyes, as you know. Okay, from our guy, Daytona Fox 72, which I believe is Garrett Bowles' burner. Right. Thank you for the $2, Garrett. We love you. Thoughts on a QB at 257 to replace Stidham next year?
I mean, quarterback is always interesting. I mean,
I would like a Taysom Hill in this offense. I think you have some Taysom Hill-y options. If you're not able to get rid of those picks, I would be intrigued. Again, tune in 30 minutes. Maybe I've got just the right fit for you there too.
Wow.
It's a tease, Hanky.
I have talked to other Broncos media members who think it would make a lot of sense. The longest, most in-depth conversation where people were most confident was like middle of last season before we saw what happened with Bo Nix down the stretch.
Yeah.
Where he stopped missing the deep ball and beat the Bills and all that sort of stuff. But that time you have the conversation of like, what are the odds that you could use a second round pick and find a guy who can give you 90% of the same stuff and won't cost you $60 million a year? Because that's the thing about paying a quarterback.
Yeah.
And it's not something that you'd like to do, but if you do happen to throw a dart and say, hey, 4th round pick, we're going to get this guy, and for some reason he starts 4 games in the middle of the year and looks good, that would be a good thing. Like that's what you forget.
Well,
is
you're
that
getting
all of a
tremendous
sudden,
return on investment
all of a sudden,
one way or
like,
another.
It's like making a plus 10,000 bet. It's like there's a chance that you all of a sudden get to spend in free agency, and this team doesn't all fall apart when you pay your quarterback. It's not something that's likely to happen. But it is something that I think
257.
Right.
Sign me up.
Right. But the line is
Nussmeier in
just
the
kind of
4th?
where. The line is kind of like, where would you do it? Or even the other way. Even if you say like pick 111, you draft a guy, he starts the 4 games, he looks good, and you say like, well, we still are going to just give Bo the $60 million. He's our guy. Then you get to trade this guy for a lot more than pick 111.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
so it's drafting a quarterback is always on the table.
I would just do it in the 250s. Any pick
Yep.
higher than that, I'm going to be a bit disappointed. But I totally
And
understand.
there's a message it sends if it's.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, 111 might be the line for that to
Exactly.
matter.
Exactly.
Again, like Jalen Hurts in the 2nd round, not a guy who I'm in love with as a player, but there are some of those stories.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Malik Willis drafted in wherever he was drafted, 5th or something like that.
Right.
Now, the thing is, they don't trade him.
Also true.
They kind of messed up.
And
like
you-
that
right.
did ultimately, like, yeah, nice backup, but it's not like they won a Super Bowl with him. In
Did
some
he?
ways, are to argue like a wasted pick.
Totally. And what did the beginning of his career look
Also,
like?
wait, he was drafted by the Titans,
Right.
so it doesn't even. Yeah,
So he was
doesn't apply at all.
2
My bad.
years, they gave him 3 starts. And then did they trade him to the Packers? They must have.
Yeah, they must have.
Yeah, traded for a 7th. So, I mean, they just botched.
That's the other thing.
that.
Like, if I could use 257 to trade for a guy like that, it's probably a better use of draft capital.
Also true.
You know.
Also true.
Our guy Pure Lapine with the $5 super chat. Thank you, my friend. Hope you saw Fran's mock and are enjoying the Stowers pick at 62. Boys, I have a new idea. Draft Price at 62. Lots of mocks have him dropping. Well, we talked about it. Lots of mocks also have him at 32. Then Roush in the 4th and linebacker with 2nd, 4th, OT 5th, and ST in the 7th. That's a special teamer, yeah?
The only thing is, like, they're just not going to be drafting for need. So as much as you can say what you'd like in a perfect world, it's going to just be best player available, especially once you get past 62.
Also, Pure Lapine, our Broncos episode coming up in 30 minutes was meant for you because we're mocking the whole thing out. We're talking through all the options. I love that you've always got your mock hat on. Special teamer in the 7th would be fun. Like, is there some Will Lutz insurance?
They just,
If a
like,
top kicker were to drop to you.
I don't need kicker insurance. I'm like, you just signed the guy for 3 more years. He's the best kicker in history by field goal percentage. Now he's made some big kicks too. Like, there's just what? Right. He did do that. There was something that one got tipped. That was blocked, which again could be on the kick. But yeah, you just drafted a punter. You've got Will Lutz. I don't think it's not kicker, it's not punter, and if they draft a long snapper, I'll jump off a bridge. You have Marvin Mims. You have the best one.
I hope the rest of the hour we did in this show addressed a lot more of your questions, because that's a packed one from Pure Lapine, who's always bringing the fire in the Toyota chat for us.
We do love Pure Lapine.
Okay, well, that's it for us. We will see you shortly. Thanks for tuning in, and see you next week. Man, just a couple more Thursdays, and the draft is here, guys.
That is crazy.
Cannot wait. 'Tis our season. God bless you all. Leave us a thumbs up on the way out, and thanks to super producer Yaya for putting this all together. See you soon.
We all silly like the mayor.